It's a horrifying mystery in Georgia. Look at this couple. Who would want to harm them? That's 88-year-old Russell Derman and his 87-year-old wife, Shirley. They've been married 60-plus years, yet he's found dead, decapitated. Shirley's missing, and sheriffs believe she was abducted from their beautiful home, lakefront, worth over $1 million. Now, an entire community's on edge, trying to figure out what happened.
You can't get through Publix without it taking another half hour because everybody's, have you heard? Have you heard?
88-year-old Russell Derman was found murdered in the garage of his home. His 87-year-old wife, Shirley, is nowhere to be found. Investigators think she's been abducted.
Mr. Derman's head was decapitated, and we do not know the whereabouts of his head.
There's obviously concern and a surprise. Things like that just don't happen here.
I'm not optimistic about it, given the fact of her husband and the other circumstances.
While police admit this is a true whodunit for them, they don't think it was random.
It had to be pre-planned, to get in here to begin with, how they got in here, whether it was off the lake or whether it was somehow got in through the gate, who knows? I have no idea.
And I stress to everyone, as I have since the very first day of this, we need to assume, or at least pray, that Miss Derman is still alive.
Total confusion.
People scared?
Yes.
You better believe frightened. And again, who would want to harm them? You're thinking it's Sunday brunch, Mother's Day with Shirley. Instead, he's dead. She may be as well. There's the home, by the way. It's beautiful. Again, the whole property's worth over $1 million. And we want to, here's a Google Earth look here. This is a waterway. So let me illustrate it to you that some believe maybe through this waterway, that's how you get to the house, because this is a gated community. So maybe that was the entry point to get into the house. Anita O, with our affiliate WMAZ, has been doing a great job. So as she has been tweeting, we've been able to keep up to date on the story, and it starts with this. Please spread the word. Investigators are still looking for Shirley. She's 5'2", 148, gray hair, and blue eyes. We're hoping for the best, but obviously authorities say it could not be good news. Sills, one of the investigators, house is immaculate. No sign of bullets or gunshots. Russell Derman's body was moved, so possible he wasn't killed at the home. Another interesting point, we're going to be going over it with our expert here in just a minute. Another point from the investigator, absolutely no activity in Derman's bank accounts to show financial trouble or strange activity. No ransom demands. Again, you're thinking, why? What is the motive here? And one more, Russell Derman was last seen exactly a week ago today at Publix, the sheriff says, still investigating phone records, interviewing friends and neighbors. It sounds like a baffling one. And then bring it back again to rest in peace, Grandpa Derman. I miss you. That's from grandson Elliot. So just sad to hear. We want to welcome back to the program Casey Jordan, criminologist. And Casey, where do we begin here? I want to give you some new information. In the autopsy, no trauma to Russell's body. So does that tell you that all trauma was to his head? Then he's decapitated? And as sick as it sounds, they take the head with them, whoever did this?
It's entirely possible, Mike. I have to tell you, when the neighbor says this sort of thing doesn't happen here, truly, this sort of thing doesn't happen anywhere. It's a real unusual story, even to a criminologist. Now, the idea that the body was left there and shows no trauma and the head was taken is really why the police keep insisting this is not a random act. This is not a burglary gone wrong. This is not he surprised somebody in the garage. When someone goes to the trouble to decapitate a body, and I did read, they believe that Mr. Derman was deceased prior to that dismemberment. That usually is a big V for vendetta. There is somebody who is trying to send a message to someone, not only by killing Mr. Derman and taking his head, but by also taking his wife. So there's something personal going on here. And just because we think he has no enemies, you want to look, are there lawsuits pending? Are there any debts? Everything seems to be in place. But who knows? Maybe he had a secret life. Maybe he owed somebody gambling debts. I mean, this is what the police will start to look at. Who would want to hurt the Dermans, as elderly as they are? You have to start by looking at the family members and wonder if the children are their grandchildren. Is there somebody in the extended family that they are trying to send a message to? Because this sort of thing usually is very personal.
Send a message. What about Shirley? I mean, there's always hope, but when your husband is decapitated, are you hopeful that she's okay? What are your thoughts there, Casey?
I think that the taking of both Mr. Derman's head and his wife is really meant to terrorize someone specifically, and not Mrs. Derman. The police have already said they're not very hopeful that she is alive. But if you want to do psychological terrorism to an individual that you are trying to get back at, then you take their elderly mother right around Mother's Day. Again, I don't know who they are trying to send a message to, but if the Dermans truly had no enemies, if there were no disgruntled employees from the Wendy's chain, I mean, these are the sorts of things police will be looking at. Were there any employees who, like, you know, were upset or sued or had a beef with Mr. Derman before his retirement? From their prior, you know, they've only lived in this gated community for a little while. Do they have any long-standing beefs with people?
Got it.
Because enemies will
Okay.
be
Hey, Tracy, sorry to break up just a little bit there, Casey. Thanks again. Always with great insight.